Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And today's video is when your crush on them is revealed in class. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And let's get going. The fluorescent lights of Class 1A hummed, casting a dull glow over the desks. You were halfway through transcribing President Mike's latest lecture notes, your pen scratching against the paper. Around you, the usual cacophony of your classmates filled the air. The low murmur of conversations, the rustle of textbooks, and of course, the occasional barely suppressed explosion from a certain ash blonde at the back. You glanced up, your eyes instinctively drifting towards the two boys who occupied far too much of your thoughts. Katsuki Bakugo was scowling and hunched over his own desk, a vein throbbing in his temple as he scribbled something with furious intensity. Beside him, Ijiro Kirishima leaned back in his chair, a wide, easy grin on his face, as he chatted animatedly with Kaminari. They were so different, yet equally captivating to you. Bakugo, with his power and even more explosive personality, a challenge wrapped in a volatile package, and Kirishima, who was gentle and the epitome of manliness, with his unwavering optimism, rock-hard resolve, and heart of gold. Your crush wasn't just one of them. It was a tangled mess of feelings for both. You had tried to keep it under wraps, a secret that you guarded more fiercely than All Might's true identity. A sudden, sharp tug on your notebook pulled you from your reverie. "What you got there, Ryan?" Mina Ashido's voice chirped, her pink face beaming down at you. Kaminari, ever curious, leaned over her shoulder, a goofy grin plastered on his face. Panic flared in your chest. "Hey, that's mine. Give that back, Mina." You hissed, longing for your notebook. You'd been doodling, a habit that you had when your mind wandered, which it often did to certain spiky-haired heroes in training, and sometimes those doodles weren't just abstract shapes. But Mina was too quick. She danced back, holding the open notebook afloat. "Oh, what's this, Ryan? Is this a heart?" she teased, her eyes widening as she scanned the page. Kaminari let out a snicker. Your face burned. You knew exactly what page she was on. It was the one where he'd absent-mindedly drawn a stylized explosion, and then, almost unconsciously, sketched a small spiky-haired figure next to it, with a tiny and almost invisible heart floating above his head. And then, because your brain apparently just was determined to betray you, you'd added a similar, equally small, red-haired figure on the other side, with another tiny heart. It was subtle, you thought. Too subtle for anyone to notice. "No, it's nothing," you practically shrieked, your voice cracking. Several heads turned in your direction, including, to your horror, Bakugo's and Kirishima's. Mina, however, was on a roll. "And is this Kirishima?" she gasped, pointing a pink finger at the red-haired doodle. "And this one's Bakugo?" Her voice was getting louder, laced with a dramatic inflection. "And they both have hearts?" Kaminari burst out laughing, a loud, obnoxious bray that echoed through the now silent classroom. "Oh my god, Ryan. You've got a crush on both of them?" The blood drained from your face, and then rushed back with a vengeance, leaving your cheeks fiery red. You felt like you might spontaneously combust. This was it, the apocalypse. Your carefully constructed wall of plausible deniability had just been blown to smithereens by a pink-skinned, acid-wielding gossip queen and a human lightning rod. Bakugo, who had been watching the scene unfold with a growing frown, suddenly slammed his hand on his desk. "What the hell are you extras yelling about?" he roared, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. His crimson eyes, usually narrowed in irritation, were wide with surprise as they landed on your mortified face. and then flicked to the open notebook that was still clutched in Mina's hand. Kirishima, who had been mid-chuckle at Kaminari's outburst, froze. His usually cheerful expression morphed into one of bewildered shock, his red eyes darting from Mina, and then the notebook, to you, then to Bakugo. A faint blush began to creep up his neck. Mina, realizing that she just detonated a social bomb, looked a little sheepish. But the damage was done. She lowered the notebook. Nothing? Bakugo, I was just admiring Wine's art. She stammered, trying to sound innocent, but her grin betrayed her. Bakugo scoffed, but his gaze was still fixed on you, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Whatever. He turned back to his desk, but you could feel his eyes still on you, a burning weight on your skin. The bell for lunch rang, a jarring sound that broke the spell. The rest of the class, who had been pretending not to listen but clearly were, suddenly sprang into action, grabbing their bags and heading for the door, leaving the three of you in a strangely charged silence. You saw Kirishima holding your notebook and you suddenly charged for it, but he offered you a small, genuine smile. Well, he said, his voice a little shaky, I think it's pretty manly that you're so open about your feelings, Wayan. He handed the notebook to you, his fingers brushing yours, sending a jolt up your arm. And I think it's pretty cool. He winked, then turned and headed for the door, leaving you reeling. Bakugo, however, didn't move. He continued to stare at you, his expression unreadable. You braced yourself, waiting for the inevitable explosion of anger, the humiliation. Instead, he just let out a frustrated groan. You're an idiot. Wayan. He grumbled, his voice rough. But whatever. Just don't get in my way. He turned to leave, but paused at the door, glancing back over his shoulder. His crimson eyes met yours for a fleeting moment, and you could have sworn you saw a faint flush on his cheeks before he stormed out of the classroom. You stood there, notebook clutched to your chest, your heart still pounding. The revelation had been mortifying. Catastrophic even, but they hadn't rejected you. Kirishima had been sweet, almost flattered, and Baku hadn't exploded in your face. He'd called you an idiot, sure, but there was no real heat behind it. He'd even blushed. A small hesitant smile touched your lips. Maybe this wasn't the end of the world, and maybe it was actually just the beginning of something new. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you like this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And goodbye!